I am. Hey, Star Wars fans and Rule the Galaxy fans. It is Joe. My wife just hopped in as the
I
intro of
heard
the
her.
show went on. Yeah, we're
I
both
heard
watching. We're both watching
Phasma as well.
Thursday night football. So yeah, it's chapter 301 of the Rule of the Galaxy podcast. I was actually she saw me in my office dancing for no reason, and I was just dancing before we got on the show. So for any of you watching on YouTube, that was just my little happy dance that I was doing. But it's chapter 301, Rule of the Galaxy. If you're following us on YouTube, watching us on YouTube, great. Thank you so very much. Like, subscribe, all that. If you're not and you're paying attention to us via podcast, we're on all podcast platforms of choice. Go check us out. Go subscribe. Leave us a comment. Leave us a note, just like Dr. Squatch always does. Um, but chapter 301, we're on to 400. There we go. We're on, how Belichick said we're on to Cincinnati. We are on to 400. But Merry Christmas to you, Michael Nip. And you know what? It's a crowded house tonight. We got plenty to talk about. I'm going to zoom around the room, and I'm going to start with the producer from Philly, D Doc. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. Was doing some Christmas shopping. I got home probably about an hour before the show here tonight. I can only spend so much time walking around in stores till I start to feel brain dead. Like I even went to the mall, which I have not been to the mall in a long time. And I saw some people who look like they actually are like frequent mall goers actually there, which my mall is like going downhill. It was it was a good mall, but they've dropped the ball. So it was interesting. Busy night. Excited to talk some Star Wars. Christmas is around the corner. I'm fired up.
D Doc, I have to ask you. You put it in the chat between all of us. You went into Dick's Sporting Goods wearing a green shirt and khaki pants.
And I was wearing this one, which it's not like it's that dark of a green. Yeah, guy asked me a question about shoes.
All right, there you go. Were you looking at the shoes, or were you like just on the outskirts of the shoe department?
I was kind of looking at them.
Okay.
Like I was, trying to make up my mind because my wife had a specific pair of shoes on her list that she wanted, but I was like, maybe I'll get her a different pair. But then I was trying to not get it. But yeah, while I'm like, mindlessly browsing around, this guy walks up to me like, "Hey, can you tell me about?" He's carrying the shoes around, and then he's like, "You work here?" I'm like, "No, I don't work here. This is not a Dick's green, shirt here. This is like a Kelly green."
It's an Eagles. It's an Eagles shirt.
Yeah, this is actually from the Snow Bowl from 2013.
Wow.
You remember Eagles Lions when there was a ton of snow? I got this sweatshirt after that from Crossing Broad.
I love that you can still wear it and fit into it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, hey, we're going to go to the guy who's probably the most notarized guy on the crew here. Brent Dykman, did you get noticed in public again? Give us that story.
All right, so here's the deal. I went to Elf the Musical,
Mm-hmm.
which was last night. It's downtown. They've changed the story around. It was okay. It was the coolest thing about it was there were two sessions where they had kind of like in the intro, Santa Claus was sitting around talking, and he said like, "Man, anytime you watch Dateline, it just records over what you were watching. I wanted to get to see that Butler Marquette game because it was at Clues Hall, so that he used a Butler reference." Then at the end of it, I have bad internet, I think. Anyways, at the end of it, Santa's trying to use an iPad and he doesn't know what he's doing because he's old. So Buddy the Elf takes the iPad. He's like, "What were you doing? Because you just followed Caitlin Clark on TikTok." And then he made a couple comments about like Caitlin Clark's TikTok, which got some reaction from the crowd, obviously. So it's pretty cool. While I was there, I think I ran into my long lost brother, separated at birth and born 10 years after, because bearded dude who was drinking craft beer, who brews beer, started talking, said something. He said something. He said he was a Star Wars fan. I was like, "Oh, are you a fan of the podcast or podcasts?" I was like, "I know a good one." So I started talking about Rule of the Galaxy. Well, a lady, an older lady, a lady that was down the way. She went to go leave, and when she came back, she's like, "Did I hear you talking about a Star Wars podcast?" I was like, "Rule of the Galaxy." So then about 10 minutes later, she wanted me to take a picture. I was like, I can only take a picture if you follow the podcast. And she said, I already did it. I was like, all right, I'll take your picture then. So her with her friends go through that's all at the beginning of the show. Then at intermission, him and I start talking a lot more. Well, we get to everything leaves. We get into the parking garage. He must have got to the car before us because he's sitting in the parking garage, rolls down his window, shows me the Rule the Galaxy on his phone. He's like, Brent Dykman from Rule the Galaxy? So it's kind of a cheat way to get recognized because I told him about the podcast about 2 hours earlier. But when he saw me it made my day. And as soon as I saw that, I sat in the car and I sent a message to you guys. Just got my third recognition, D-Doc.
That is fantastic. Fantastic. Alfie, how about you? Have you been noticed by anybody? Has anybody recognized you? Besides giving you free gifts at work.
Yes. A lot of free gifts at work. I'm known as the Star Wars guy, so for some reason people see things and they think he would like that. So every once in a while I'll open up my truck door to leave and there'll be a nice little Star Wars package sitting there.
Man, I need to stop working from home. Working from home, nobody can give me those gifts.
Well, I think you have to have a really unique first name too. It just kind of sticks out there in people's minds.
Or a really large individual.
Very true.
You can't not see me in a crowd.
I thought you were talking about me. I was going to say, hey, it's
no
winter. I mean, I know I'm in hibernation mode here, but it's a little harsh.
Hey, I broke the 180 mark. I'm down to 179. I've been pushing it.
Good Lord, I've gone up about 6 pounds, and I'm actually trying to lose working out in the morning. So,
yeah.
Keep losing for me, man. Keep losing for me. I'll keep putting it on.
I've been working at it, and I'm a belt size down.
Nice. It's always nice. A belt size or a belt notch?
A belt notch. Yeah, a belt notch. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys have the kind of belts that still have the holes in them, or did you go like I years ago went to the new belts that are the ratchet kind, to where you can place it to where you want it and it doesn't have to have the holes in it? Do you guys have those?
Hey, Joe, I think
have to wear a specific belt.
Okay.
For safety.
Yeah, I can't have any like metal.
Gotcha.
And Joe, I don't think they make them in big and tall, husky man size. I mean,
I actually go ahead, Brent. Sorry.
I was just saying I have to go to the husky man section, right?
Okay.
So,
gotcha.
I use one that's like it's like a dual clip, but it's like a stretchy kind of material where it like does the double fold through the clip, but it's a stretchy one and it's very nice. I haven't used a regular belt ever since I got that.
Okay. I will not go back to a regular belt no matter what, since I've gone to these. They're like Click It or whatever. I don't even know, but they're fantastic. That's all I wear now. So
Joe, I do have a quick question. This may be too much information. What size waist are you right now?
34.
33.
33. Damn it. Because I was going to say, I weigh the same weight as Joe, probably around the same height. And I was going to assume same waist because I'm a 34.
So I was a 34 at the age of 13. No, probably younger than that. At the age of 13, I was a 40. So I was probably a 34 in like the 4th grade.
Okay. I'm 6 feet tall, 179 pounds at 53. I was a rather petite individual growing up. When I finished my 8th grade year, I was 5 feet tall, 100 pounds. When I graduated high school, I was 5'10", 145 pounds. So yeah.
So Joe, in 8th grade, I was 6 foot tall, 310.
Oh.
No, sorry, 6 foot tall, 289.
Oh my God!
My senior year, I was 6'4", 310.
Wow.
And I'm currently I'm currently like 310 right now, and I really don't like it. I need to be like sub 3.
I've been 5'5" since I was like 14 years old.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's God makes us all different. That's what makes it fun. None of us are the same. Wouldn't it be boring if we were all same size, same weight, look the same? I mean, we've got a ginger on here. We've got a snowy white beard on here.
Santa Claus. It's that time of year. I can come out of
Yeah.
hibernation and tell people I'm Santa Claus. Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas.
Yeah. So we all have our thing. Yeah. There we go. Michael Nip. We're just big boned. Yes. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Um.
The
So
biggest belly bone out there.
have you guys all got your Christmas shopping done? We are less than a week away from Christmas. Is everybody feeling
Doc-
good about that?
I
Doc just said he
have
did it tonight.
Yeah, I'm pretty
one
close.
thing left to get,
Okay.
and maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. The whole credit or debit card skimming situation really put a damper in
Yeah.
buying stuff. So
Yeah, that would kick me in the balls too.
I do you guys usually follow, like, does your wife or significant other usually tell you, hey, this is what I want, so you don't screw up and that's what you go get?
I mean, Doc was about to do the ultimate sacrilege. I mean,
Because
Doc,
it's so boring. It's so
Doc-
boring, man.
you about committed the worst sin in the world, which is like you get her the gift that's like adjacent to the one that she wants.
Yeah, it's funny because when we like first were together and like going through a couple Christmases together, I think she was nice to me in the beginning, and at one point she was like, "Listen, I don't give you a list just for you to like ignore it and get whatever you want. Like, this is what I want." And I'm like, "Well, it's boring because I'm just checking off the boxes on this,
Yes.
and I don't feel that like excitement, like where it's like watching you open it. It's like everything you're going to get. But at this point, I've learned my lesson to just follow that list. And if the list isn't too crazy, maybe I'll add a little spice, to it. A little, well, not a little spice, I'll say, but a little, some extra like items that might be fun, in my opinion, that she might not find fun.
Princess Leia slave outfit, right?
Yeah,
Stuff like that.
exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I follow the list. Are you guys list guys as well?
Yeah. I usually am. I will say this year's the first one in a long time where I've said, I'm gonna do some things off the list, but I'm gonna call some audibles as well. So I've gotten some real personalized gifts this year, which I'm really excited to see the reaction. So I'll let you know after Christmas what we're looking at there. But I felt pretty good on calling the audible on those. I was like, I'm pulling the trigger. Let's see what happens. I think it's going to be fun. So I'm really excited about that. Not really nervous, but more excited about it. So Brent's got something going on there that I don't know what he's doing.
Sorry, there was conversation going on in the household, and I couldn't mute because I have a terrible system. Could you hear anything that went on?
No.
No.
You just saw
We're
me
good.
reacting. You just saw me
Yeah.
reacting to the conversation.
I thought you were
Sorry.
laughing at Joe going off the cuff on his list.
No, sorry, I was unplugged and not listening to you guys. I apologize.
It's perfect. Nobody else was either, so it's okay. Except for Michael Nip, obviously. So, guys, before we jump into Skeleton Crew, because we've got some rehashing of episode 3, but episode 4 is the meat and bones of it because it just happened. Is there anything Star Wars related you guys want to hit or cover that maybe isn't in Skeleton Crew? Other topics that have come up, other things, toys, shows, movies, news, anything like that? Alfie?
Alfie sent us that pretty interesting article, a couple hours ago about Mandalorian movie.
Yeah, Alfie,
yeah,
jump
that was
into
from
that.
the head of or someone from Disney saying that they were looking at that the same as the Moana Disney Plus series, and that they felt it needed to be a movie rather than Disney Plus, which I can see, but I think he was trying to say nicely without saying it that the slate's pretty empty for what they had to work with, so they chose that. That's just my opinion. He doesn't say that in the article, but reading his words, I feel that's what he was trying to say.
Okay. I look. I'm just excited that we have a movie that's nearing a process where we feel comfortable saying that it will happen. I think they
Yeah,
put enough
there
time,
was.
effort, and money into this one that it's going to show up. Now, did we hear what was the story? Rada the Hut, Stinky.
Yes, he's evident. That was shared pretty extensively by some big networks. Yeah, he's coming back. Can't remember. I don't have it pulled up in front of me to tell you the actor who's playing,
It's
but
actor from The Bear, isn't it?
Yes.
yes,
Wow.
and
Have you guys
evidently he'll be buff.
Shameless too, right?
have you guys seen the memes of them putting the voiceovers from the Bear on it on like the Clone
Yes.
Wars? Dude, people have been doing some wild stuff with that character. I've been seeing some weird edits. I've been seeing some weird edits in general lately with Star Wars online.
There you go.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go off topic on that because Joey kind of did some shaming to me today. I went to his comedy show. He and Ben did a live podcast last night at a comedy club here in Indy, and it was a lot of fun. But today he stopped by, and Lori was telling him about some security meetings she had at work, and how the IT guy was saying, "Look, probably want to disconnect your Alexa or your whatever at your house because everything's being listened to. You probably want to turn your mic off on everything when you don't want it on your phone because pretty much right now, anybody and everybody who wants to listen to you can." So Lori was telling him, hey, you need to really watch this. And hey, they're using AI now to like mimic your voice to where you can, like a lot of elderly people are getting scammed because they're mimicking people's voices and calling them saying, hey, grandma, I need money because I've got to do this or that, send it to here. And because it's AI of your voice, people are getting scammed on it. So Joey went on to tell her how older people like us, me and Lori, are getting fooled all the time on Twitter and Facebook and everything because AI is getting so good that we'll see a story and go, wow, is this true? Like I'll send it to Joey and like, what is this? And he'll be like, Dad, AI, don't worry about it. It's fake. Remember that Back to the Future 4, Alfie?
Yes,
You and I were
was
going.
getting ready to.
That was so
Bless your
good.
heart.
I know, you sweet summer child. But I mean, like, Hendy was like, yeah, I mean, guys, like people like you, I mean, you gotta train your eye for AI, and I'm like, train my eye. I can't even see the screen half the time anyway. What do you train my eye? Yeah, I'm old, so guess what? It's part of it. So anyway, just
the
thought it was
biggest thing to
interesting.
look for to determine if it's AI or not
No, what's that?
is fingers.
AI has a
AI
very hard
messes-
time with fingers and limbs.
That is works to perfection with racks, but hands, it messes them up for some reason.
So that goes back to your story you were saying about if you had Jedi powers, then Alfie.
Jedi powers, 100%.
Spoken from a position of experience, Alfie.
Yeah.
Wow. I literally, Alfie, when you said that the other night about, if I had Jedi powers, there would not be this, that. I mean, I'm not even going to say it, but I was
Nothing
sitting there.
nefarious, we're just a little innocent fun,
Yeah.
just a
yeah.
gust of wind here or there, a button popping,
I laughed so hard. I was like, only Alfie would just throw that right out there. So,
I'm just being honest,
hey,
my
Luke,
biggest fault is I'm honest.
Luke Sheehan, thank you for Jeremy Allen White on the actor for Rod of the Hut, by the way. Go ahead.
That's two shameless people. So we're another step closer to getting Cal Kestis potentially actually in live action.
Yeah, I've seen you were talking about memes, D-Doc. I've seen the scene with the Cal Kestis actor in, is it him in something where they're fighting each other?
Shameless.
I've seen that.
Probably.
Yeah,
it's
I've seen
probably
that
Shameless.
shared a bunch the past few days. And not only the Rod of the Hutt casting, but evidently the Shadow Council is coming back as well. So
In
that
the Mando?
in
From-
the Mando movie.
with Paleon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask you this
Which
while
means
we're
Gideon's
on
coming back.
while we're on Mando movie topic. This is obviously going to be bigger budget than the show. I mean, it has to be, right? So, is this still going to be something that you think is exclusively filmed in the volume and just shot the same exact way it is for the TV show?
The TV show was on quite a few locations.
Do you think that they'll be out of on location? Like, do you think they'll like really go in on this like to another level where like they might even be like actually like in the desert, like rather than I don't know. I don't know how often they were
You
on
know,
location for
well,
Mando.
So
You-
the typhus set during where Grogu was on the little ball, that was
Mhm.
out actually that was out on
Yes.
location.
That was spoiled so long before that show even came out.
Yes, I
but
remember that
It
now.
looked so fake that people brushed it off as a bunch of cosplayers out there shooting a fan film. I think the big difference, or I think the real question to ask D-Doc is, are we going to see the same quality in a production by Favreau and Filoni together compared to the other shows where it's very noticeable?
Yeah, which I really, I didn't have a lot of quality complaints with Mando, and I think Skeleton Crew's quality is excellent. Really, I don't have.
I
and
agree.
You guys know
Uh,
I'm a pain in the ass about that stuff.
I've
Like,
said this many times. You have to go back and look at Favreau made quite a few films in a parking lot with one person and one film with 0 people in it. So it's a little bit of, having some experience working with this craft. is what
every
you're seeing
time
the
I hear
difference.
every time I hear Favreau's name, my in-laws were over recently when we had 4 Christmases on,
Mm.
and
God.
him eating those chicken wings while like they're playing that game.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The only man I can sleep with, Ricardo Montalban. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Christmas rom-coms. Joe is in on it, baby.
Oh, anything Christmas, forget about it. It's being watched at the Molinaro household. Don't care. I'll say it. Can't wait. Last Christmas should be coming any day now.
Oh God, Last Christmas. Emilia Clarke, right? Amelia Clarke.
Fantastic movie. Great soundtrack.
It's the only
Just
thing
so
she's in.
disappointing.
I'm gonna try to watch that with Meg. I'm gonna write it down. Last Christmas. That's the one with Amelia Clarke.
Yes.
Christmas.
Meg will like it. And if she
It's
doesn't
fine
like
that
it,
you like it as a Christmas movie. That's completely fine. But to be the one person in the entire world who knows Amelia Clarke from Last Christmas rather than Game of Thrones, oh, it hurts me.
So real quick before we hop on, I was so blown away to do the show with Glosson last week. That was wild. I don't know if you guys listened to it or not, but
No.
he's and I know you haven't, Alfie. But Steve Glosson, he's a rock star when it comes to podcasting. That guy, he does it right. We were just sitting there and we talked about everything. We talked about football. We talked about the college football playoffs. We talked about Star Wars. We talked about Saturday morning cartoons. We talked about just a little bit of everything, really. And I had no idea those were the routes we were going to go, but it was a lot of fun. We had a good time. Thank you, Michael Nip. But yeah, just again, going back to the 300th episode where I talked about all the different things we've done and been involved with and been around over the past 5 years. Being a guy who religiously listened to Geek Out Loud with Steve Glosson and then getting a chance to be on the show was really cool. So thanks to Steve. If you check this one out, and he is going to start using some of his Attenborough stuff there on his show. because he said it's such a hit here that he really wants to use it on his show. Which I said, go take care of it. So, but anyway, that's pretty much all I had. Christmas, I'm excited for. I have a feeling we're going to take next week off because Christmas falls in the middle of the week, and we can come back a week later. Go ahead, Brent.
It's 5 years because it was January 1st of 2020 when you and Joey started up number one
Yeah,
because you wanted to rule the galaxy as father and son.
yeah, it was crazy.
5 years.
Well, it's like I talked about in the show that I just kind of went through everything. The things that have happened. I mean, we've had COVID since then. I've been out and spent the night at D-Doc's house in the Philly area. I mean, I've got 3 grandkids now. I mean, the stuff going on in our lives has been. I've just got a high school football player now. I mean, that's crazy to think about that all the stuff that's happened in the past 5 years. But yeah, it's wild run, right? I mean, 300 episodes, kind of crazy. Whoa.
Now, Joe, look at the fingers.
It's the first thing I looked at, man. 1, 2, 3, 4, right there.
That
Yeah.
guy's missing a hand.
It got cut off, Alfie.
I told the AI to make me Star Wars family celebrating Christmas, and I guess they decided it was the Vader family with one who has just an odd, toy helmet. I guess
Right? There's one weird.
That's the Kenner Vader.
Yeah. That's the prototype. That's the prototype Kenner uses. Yeah.
Yeah, the one on the right, his hand is backwards. His right hand is backwards.
Holy cow.
See, telling you, great with racks, terrible with hands and fingers.
I think we know the title of the show, by the way. AI, great with racks.
Superb.
We've had a bottom wiping episode, and now we've got an AI racks episode. This is fantastic.
You welcomed it. You opened the door.
Hey, so everybody's watched chapter 3 and chapter 4 of
Yes.
Skeleton Crew?
Before you get into something,
Yeah.
in our fantasy football text chain,
Yes.
I was chastised slightly by friend of the show Tom Line.
Over what?
Well, because on the first episode that we did of our episode 1 and 2 review, I said that I hadn't gotten into it because of. It didn't say that it was a bad show, just said that I tried to watch it and fell asleep because of probably the timing and things that are going on in my life. So I believe he interpreted that to mean that I didn't like it. I just hadn't had a chance to get into it.
Gotcha.
I will also say that Game of Thrones, the first season and a half, I would fall asleep in the middle of that and have to watch it multiple times until I got to the Red Wedding, and then life changed after the Red Wedding. So just because I was napping because it put me to sleep, it just happened to be the time of day and what's going on in my life. I do like it. It is a good show. It just at that time it didn't catch me. I hadn't got the right time to devote to it.
I can't wait for the next meetup when we get you and Tom together. That's going to be fun. That is going to be so much fun. Tom, he'll listen to the show and he'll give me some comments. But yeah, he's an instigator. He likes to instigate. That's, that's who he is. That's okay. That's why we love him.
Yeah, he drew me right in with that one.
He did. Yeah, no, I agree. Well, no, fantasy football. Let's see.
Why are we talking about this? Because I've been eliminated since week 2.
Yeah, I'm. So let's.
Hey, Michael Penix is finally starting.
Okay. All right.
Did I slip up there? Did I slip up?
Yep. It's kind of an AI discussion.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Michael, man, that game was really hard, Dave. It's a hard game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea why I'm crying.
I don't. I wonder if he's ever thrown a pick 6. I don't.
Oh my god.
Okay. We're gonna have to give Brent some oxygen here in a second.
I love it. I love it.
So just to let you know, out of the group here, I have been fortunate enough. Little. Here we go, Nip. We've gone after dark. Yes, we have.
Oh my god!
It was just
my
a word. It was just a word
Nick.
slip. It was just a word slip.
I'm trying so hard not to laugh because my throat
It
hurts
hurts?
so bad.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Clothing racks, and I said Penix. I didn't say the first.
No, you
word.
did not.
You said penis. 100%.
I can't wait to do the playback and just repeat.
So Lori, my wife, Lori and I are playing
that's
in
a
the
great segue.
final four this weekend. Lori and I versus are in one side, and Tom versus Joe Doc on the other side. So that's the final four of the first ever Dynasty League that we've got here together.
Yeah. Who are you going to wish luck to this week, by the way?
The four of us that are still participating in the playoffs.
Is
I
it
mean,
going to
Good
be
luck
safe
to those three.
Is it going to be safe in the household since it's you versus her?
Yeah. Does your mojo cancel each other out?
Me and Lori?
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this.
I'm
I
just saying, every time you went out of your way to wish me luck this season, I lost terribly.
It's I'm almost thinking it'd be better for me to lose. I didn't sandbag. I put the best lineup out there that I could. So it's Lori versus Joe to make it to the finals, and Joe Doc versus Tom Line to make it to the finals. It's gonna be interesting. That's all I'll say. Last time I played Lori, she beat me by like 60. So
She really turned it up toward the second half of the season. She really made a good push.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, who had Josh Allen scoring 6 touchdowns every game?
He's capable of that. It's just, he's a stud. He's no Michael
But
Penix.
what's the probability of it happening in the playoffs?
Right. I mean, no, he's what is it? The last 2 games they put up 40.
Yeah. That's hey, you need your players to get hot at the end. That's all. So
She's got Ladd McConkey with 8.7 already in the first half as well. Ladd is off to a good start.
You know who told her about Ladd McConkey before the draft, not thinking that she was paying attention? Yeah, I did. I was like, man, this guy out in LA, he's going to get like 10 catches a game. They really like him there. And sure enough, I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to draft Ladd. And then I look down, I'm like, who took Ladd McConkey? She's in the other room laughing out loud. And I was like, son of a gun.
Joe, you're starting Jaden Daniels playing against the Eagles. What do you think is going to happen here? Come on, man.
The Eagles has no defense. It'll be a sieve. Go Commanders.
Wow.
The Eagles are top-ranked D this year.
I just wanted to see what I could get out of D-back.
I gotta go with the horse that I rode in on, right? I mean, Daniels was my guy all year.
He's been hot too. He's been getting hot again. He had a couple games where I think he was a little banged up. Honestly, I think he was kind of hurt the last time the Eagles played him, but he was still playing. So he's really turned it up.
And Washington needs a win. Let's face it, they need a win for the playoffs. So he's got to play all out. So I think I have delayed the the skeleton crew talk long enough.
Yeah, sorry.
And we've AI'd plenty of stuff in since then.
Found out about Michael Penix sucking his Bic.
The edits that I'm going to have to do on this show are going to be crazy.
There's no edits. There's no edits. We got to roll live with that one.
Okay. All right.
Michael Penix flicking his Bic. That's a hell of a title right there.
Do AI of that.
I saw one the other day at like a 7-Eleven where it just said "flick my Bic" on the lighter.
I'm bringing it.
It will live in infamy.
I'm bringing it back, baby. Bringing it back. So I have my first question for the skeleton crew talk. Ready?
I have one. Go ahead.
Do we think that the at the beginning of at Atten, at Akron, at whatever else, that the AT stands for something? Was this like, there's armored transport, whatever, is this AT like after, whatever? I mean, is this automatic transmission, just
No.
Is at this at and it's in front of every one of their titles. You don't think it stands for anything, Alfie?
Stands for the.
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 Okay.
So where are you getting this information, my friend?
I think. Is it Greek?
Really?
Can't remember.
Okay.
There's like every name of the planets aligns. I think 7 out of the 9 are really similar to names in Greek mythology. And I think one of them is Egyptian, but I don't know. I had this stuff all written down, but I left my notebook at work. I think there's 2 possibilities. I think one, the most obvious would be that it's a play on Atlantis,
Okay.
or it's a part of a language and it just means the.
I mean, if you take modern computer language and the ampersand, and if you do like a communication in some sort of text string, if you put the ampersand in front of the name of that's at, or not ampersand. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't at me,
Right.
don't at me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I can see that being like at being the lead into what's going on with that.
Okay. And Alfie, you said those planets have some link, or a lot of them have some link to Greek language.
Yeah, they're very similar to like some words that are used in Greek mythology.
Okay.
And there's one, like I said, I can't remember the exact one, but is like a word from ancient Egypt. There was a whole. I spent some time looking it up and stuff, and I wrote it down, but I can't because I left it at work. So sorry about that.
That's
Now
okay.
I just sound like an idiot.
Yeah, see, that's where I was going. Michael Knipp just brought up, are these attempts at having utopian societies? And I wasn't sure if if you said the, maybe like one was the water planet, the air planet, the money planet, the
But
farming planet, all that kind of stuff. So
we've seen 2 now, and they are pretty much to a T as far as architecture and
mhm.
layout. And the tower, or the supervisor's tower, is very reminiscent of the television tower in Berlin. And if you look
Ooh.
a picture of that up, it looks very, I mean, it's not exact or anything like that, but you get the same vibe of, yes, what is it, like the post 60s like communist architecture. Everything looks the same.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I will run with that. Does anybody else have any quick thoughts as I threw out that first question? Because we can just go round robin. There's tons of stuff to cover.
I mean, my one question is how many names does frickin' Jude Law have?
3.
We know of 3.
Is it 3? I thought there were like 4, but
Silvo, Jod, and
Crimson
Crimson
Jack.
Jack.
right. So do any of them mean anything? And I've seen the stuff, and so we're also a week away from the Crimson Jack one. But I've seen some stuff about it. Alfie, is there anything you can share? Joe, you guys are comic book guys. What do you know
I
about
think
Crimson Jack?
I think there's another Crimson Jack. I said when we were talking about it, I think this is kind of like, because everything here is drawing inspiration from 80s movies. I think this is like the Dread Pirate Roberts. And he
Dread Pirate
used
Robert.
from
As you
man,
wish.
it just escaped me.
Princess Bride.
Princess Bride. The main character Wesley was kidnapped when he was a child by the Dread Pirate Roberts, and he eventually found out that he wasn't the original Dread Pirate Roberts, and that they just keep passing the name down to their protege to keep the story going.
Correct.
So the idea would be that whenever he was taken by pirates, which I think is a fair assumption, it may not turn out to be that way, but he was taken by a Crimson Jack who liked him a lot, saw that he had potential to be the next one, and so forth the name goes down the line.
And at the end of Princess Bride, he gave his name to the next guy. So I agree, Alfie. I think that definitely could be happening. And then Brent, for the comics, yeah, for a guy who grew up in the 70s, Crimson Jack was one of the first enemies they brought out in the comic books. He was a pirate. I believe Jolly was his first mate, right? The young lady,
Yeah,
the
he's
girl who'd never been kissed. Han Solo
he
finally
had it.
kissed her. Yeah.
He had it out for Han Solo. He was actually the one that stole Jabba's bounty from Han Solo,
Mm-hmm.
so that he could not pay Jabba back. Which is also like I think one of the first depictions of Jabba the Hutt was in that comic. But there is a new Crimson Jack in the I
Mm-hmm.
think it's the Halcyon Legacy comic run, and they reintroduced the character. Pretty similar, but updated look. So if
Agreed.
this name was to be passed on, it could be an easy way to explain why there's two Crimson Jacks in canon.
Michael Nip with a good comment, and I think there's so many storylines. I think that's when you're doing a good story, it allows for you to have multiple different theories, multiple different ideas. And Michael brings one up here about saying when Jod got on the at Akron, he said it reminded him of home, the air. What did he say? Dusty what or dirty?
Ashy dust.
Ashy dust. Yeah, and it reminded him of the air at his home. And he, right now we're thinking maybe he was taken from the home like that as a Padawan, whatever, became a Padawan. We don't know yet. That's a great thing about it. But yeah, Michael, that's one that definitely is there. One thing that I wanted to bring up was um, the barrier. Okay, the barrier. Alfie, I'll lean on you for this one, but at the end of the first episode, they leave the barrier on at Atten, correct? And you see
Correct.
the red dots up in the sky in the mist, and you see those
Right.
floating orbs like we see on the way back in to at Akron. But I'm thinking that is it possible the barrier is kind of exit only? So they were able to leave that atmosphere because things can get out, but things aren't allowed to get in unless those are down, unless those barriers are down. And on at Akron, you could tell they'd been messed with, destroyed, affected, whatever. Do we have any thoughts on that? Or did I lose everybody?
No, I was just trying to give somebody else a chance. I think it's like the Truman Show. It's all just a big fugazi.
Really?
Yeah. It was just man-made. That's what those things in the atmosphere were, or out. They weren't in the atmosphere, but on the outside of the planet. They made the barrier. It makes a nice cover story. As if you're going to start with this story, every generation, it's just going to get stronger and stronger in belief that you can't get past that barrier. There's nothing on the other side.
That's actually a biological thing that happens. So if you take jumping flea, they actually did a test. You take jumping fleas, you put them in a jar. They normally would jump out of the jar if you didn't put the lid on it. You take those jumping fleas, and then they would jump into the lid of the jar. They would have babies, and eventually they would jump just so they would just touch the top of it, and just jump and go back and forth. You then take the top off of it. That the generations that passed would never jump high enough to jump out of the jar because they had learned that they couldn't get out of the jar.
Interesting.
That sounds like a psychological thing that the government would do on us, Brent.
I mean, you can say that like but yeah, that is a sign. It is a psychological test. It's an experiment that was done to do that. There's also similar things with like chimpanzees and stories like that. That like it's a learned behavior.
Yeah, like horses, you only have to rein them so many times. Put that rein around something before they'll stop pulling against it.
Gotcha.
So you're saying you think the force field was just a fugazi, but the question is because no one's ever actually gone past it.
That they
right?
know
So the
of.
kids are right. Well, yeah, correct. That the general population knows of.
Right, and once they got close to Akron, they got stuck in an auto landing cycle.
Yes.
Which would suggest that if there are people going back and forth, there is a predetermined route.
Right, to take
them away from where their normal.
The general public can see it. Yeah,
that's a good word I was looking for. General public would see it.
Like it. Okay. I wanted to throw this out there. Watching this episode and thinking about at Atten and at Akron, they reminded me and again, this is kind of a far stretching thing, but at least in my head, it reminded me of the prison scene from Andor, and it reminded me of Silo, because these people were in the prison. They thought that was the only prison, right, on Andor.
Right.
But there were plenty all around them doing the exact same thing. They just had no knowledge of it. Silo, same thing. The silo that she's in and she escapes from, they thought they were the only silo, right? They didn't know until she got out. The mass population, anyway, didn't know that there was another silo down the way. And it was all run, as we talked about, the supervisor in the tower, right? Those things were run the similar way, and people were trapped in there. So, and it brought up a comment that was kind of a throwaway comment earlier when they were meeting Kim, which we can talk about episode 3, the owl lady. She asked them about planets, and she said, well, we know about Alderaan and Coruscant, but these are people who were born and raised on Aten. They didn't know anything about the other planets or any other planet. They just knew about those two. So do you feel like they're kind of trapped in those silos or prisons like those other two stories, or am I seeing it way too off base?
I mean, if you don't know what's out there, how can you long to go out there? So if the more that I can control your narrative, the more that I can control your thinking, the easier it is that you're not going to have that longing and that wanderlust. Except for we find that Homeboy does.
Whim.
You know, I don't remember names, and I come up with nicknames for all of them. Elephant Boy is he's
For
my
Neil?
hero.
What is like
Oh.
what is like what is the end game of all of it though? You know, other than to me experimentation maybe of like
They were
The great work.
It's not even the great work. The great work, I think, is part of the Fugazi.
they were let me think of how to say it, but basically they were hoarding, not necessarily hoarding or hiding, but maybe something along those lines, the wealth of the old republic on these 9 worlds.
and you think that you think the others were hit and except Aten? Like, do you think
me
they had
personally,
wealth before?
my personal theory, this is just me, I have nothing to base this on whatsoever, this is all hopes and dreams, because I always want to tie it into something bigger. I think the other 8 planets were discovered. I think all 9 were discovered during the Jedi Sith Wars of the Old Republic. 8 of them were wiped out. The 9th one was took over by the Sith, which you have to remember at this time, the Sith were an actual army, not just 2.
Mm-hmm.
So they took control of the 9th planet. The other 8 are destroyed. They took, and not destroyed in a sense that they wiped everything out. They just went in and basically wiped out their technology, stole all their funds, whatever. Because the other 8 don't, obviously, other than the supervisor, doesn't know about the existence of each other.
Okay.
And that they kept at Aten to finance all the way up to the Sith Eternal.
Exegol.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's
Which
not a
would make
bad
sense
theory.
because wasn't there a Sith Lord that is very popular? That's family had immense. Actually, there was 2 very wealthy Sith families, but one of them specifically had a background in banking.
Yes.
And if you go back to the first episode in the classroom, the droid is talking about how at Aten's basic function is analyzing currency exchanges and basically betting on which one is going to make the most money.
And that's why every kid
Why
is
would they
told
need to do that?
every kid is told to be an analyst when they grow up,
Right.
so they can analyze the money.
I just
Basically.
want to share this real quick. What Alfie had brought up, the Berlin
Oh.
TV tower. Is that what you were talking about,
Yes.
Alfie?
Yes.
I don't even know the history of that. If anyone wants to inform me on that, because that's pretty crazy. Because that is really what it looks like. Like, you're spot on with that. The Berlin TV tower. I'm just not familiar with it.
It's the eye in the sky, baby, in Berlin. I don't know enough about it. I like to consider myself a history nut, but I don't know enough about that at all.
Yeah. Interesting.
All right, I've been throwing out a bunch of stuff. Who's got some other questions, thoughts, even comments? You know, how much you loved Neil, how much you loved Hana,
Oh,
or
Neil.
yeah, I mean,
I love him so
bring
much.
it. Anything you want to talk about?
So real quick, so I'm gonna throw my theory out because I threw it in the chat, but I want to see if Michael Nip, who's listening to us, might buy into it. I don't know if it's connected all the way back the way that Alfie wants it to be connected. Like I think, like you said, hopes and dreams, and like that is like the hardcore Star Wars fan wants everything to be connected. I don't know if that's the case. I'm going based upon the way that Smee reacted and where you saw the planet. I think that Smee was part of a pirate raid on all the other planets where they took all the money to At-Atin.
I ain't
And
never heard of no At-Atin.
right,
I
but
like
then,
that theory, except for one thing. He said, I've encountered these warriors before, which would suggest that when he was there, it had already fallen into ruin and they were already fighting each other.
or was that the were was it in ruin when he was there, or were they always in that warring faction because each planet had its own ecosystem to come up with?
There is that is a possibility, but I
Mhm.
didn't see anything to suggest that it's a different ecosystem.
Not necessarily, not necessarily. What I was meaning, but each individual planet is going to evolve independent of itself. Who's to say that when they came and found that
Not
planet, that
not
it
necessarily. If they're all following some type of, science fiction communistic utopia and they're all following the same rules.
so I'm gonna go to so you brought up what a show or whatever. I'm gonna bring up Fallout, right? So you brought up
Mhm.
Silo, whatever. So the movie Fallout and the Fallout games, you had different shelters. Now I guess they were also doing different experiments with the different shelters because I don't know enough about it, and I just now realized that as I was talking about it. But
Right.
different shelters had different situations going on. So like you can evolve differently. So
But you kind of answered that yourself.
yeah, but at the same time, we don't know, and I'm gonna
Right,
go
we
back to
don't.
what I'm saying, that
And
I
I'm
think that
saying that
Shmi
I
was
agree
part of
with
a
you.
Shmi was part of a pirate raid that raided all the other planets and took all the wealth at Atten, and then was told to shut down in case somebody found it.
So I also think that I've seen some negativity or some blah about episode 4 compared to the first three. And while I admit first three, I loved all of them. I don't see the blah about this one because they can't say I remember anything about At-Atin, right? We kept thinking that was just him being a pirate, but in actuality, we finally find out the reason why he keeps saying that, and that's because he was told you can't say anything about At-Atin, or you can't say
Right.
you remember about At-Atin. So this was really a breakthrough episode because it does let you know it's another level, and now we've got to take that next step to find out more that this droid knows, and it's hidden away. And so we've had a Fern, we've had a Wim, we've had a Neil show where each one of them kind of lead the way. Now KB is probably going to get that chance to work and dig into Smee and dig in and find out more information about what he knows and what he doesn't know. So just throwing that
Do you,
out there.
do you think the gerbil knows more or
Hmm.
is a bigger part of the story? Because I think this was the first episode where you could really see that he was manipulating the droid inside of his head. Like when Jod asked him something about Atten or treasure or something, you could see him pulling things inside the droid's head.
And more smoke was coming up. So was
Right.
he making some things happen in there to make him shut down, to not say or what have you? Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Interesting. I didn't
It
even
is.
catch that actually.
It's such a good mystery because I'm on board with Brent in your idea. I really
Yeah,
like it, but at the same time, like one thing that is really puzzling to me is why were they wearing AT-AT driver helmets? And the one guy, there was a few guys who were wearing Mud Trooper helmets,
Mhm.
Yeah,
and they
like
were driving
Solo, right?
a separatist like droid tank.
So I'm going to go along with that because, see, we're talking about how they were the same, right? And yes, the housing was the same and the buildings were the same
The
and all that.
species were the same.
Correct. But the thing that got me was at Atten, for all the thoughts and theories that these people are living their normal everyday lives and they're in charge, really the droids are in charge of Atten. And at Akron, there were no droids to be found. You didn't see any. You didn't see the skeletons of any droids. You
The
didn't.
skeletons were there.
They were there? Okay. But I mean,
Yes,
they're not in use.
The Rex was still in the bus.
Okay. Okay. But I mean, so is that what caused the downfall? Is that the people figured stuff out and got past what the droids were putting them down with, right? Like holding them down or keeping them down. Because I thought that was huge because I kept going, on Atten, you can't sneeze without a droid coming and telling you something. But on Akron, it was a free-for-all.
Right.
So you're telling me that Kalani is running all of these, like these were run by Kalani style droids? You guys don't know Kalani?
No.
Super
What's-
tactical droid? Oh, I only know him because of Star Wars Legion.
Legion.
But at the same time, he was the green one that was on the little. It was like the Roman planet that he was controlling in the Clone Wars episode. I believe that was Kalani, and he's a super tactical droid that was like supposed to be the best tactical analysis, and he was the one running and controlling things.
Is he the one that makes the clones fight the droids?
Yes, so a super tactical droid in Rebels. I think it's in
Yes.
Rebels.
Yes, it is. The last battle of
The
the
last
Clone Wars.
battle, and he's like, let him have it, right? So somebody
Yeah.
was like, no, you can't do this. I think Ezra says, no, you can't do this. But then like no, let them have it. They need to play it out and see that it actually is over.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, to build on this idea, is there anybody actually in the supervisor's tower? Is this going to be like a Wizard of Oz thing?
That's
where
what
it's
I
a
think.
droid or a computer or something like that?
Very possible. Very possible. Was everybody else excited that we had Eopes, and not only Eopes, but Eopes farting in the
Yes.
episode?
They made
Reminiscent
reference that they
of-
stink.
Come
So,
on, Brent.
does the school at Atten have a gun on top of it?
That's what I'm wondering. Are they equipped the same, right? Like, do
Right.
they not know it's there? But
Will
once they,
Neil get a chance to be a hero, like in episode 7 or 8? Because he knows how to activate the gun now.
oh,
Oh, nice.
So since you brought Elephant Boy up,
God love him.
I was he is becoming one of my favorite characters. And at the end of this episode, he was giving me Neville Longbottom vibes.
oh,
If anybody
Yes.
is like
yes.
if anybody is a Harry Potter fan, I was like, when he threw the rock, like it was like this little wimpy kid, and he threw the rock to turn him around and kind of take the attention away, was the same thing Neville did with Voldemort. So he gave me like some strong, and like at that moment I said out loud, Neville Longbottom. And from that moment on, like he's one of my favorite characters going forward.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, because I thought of the scene from the first movie when he tells them he's going to tell on him for sneaking out. But yes,
That's a good call.
total Neville Longbottom.
One thought that like comes to mind as we're discussing this is, it's just funny to me that you guys are bringing up plot points that for me I didn't even think of, so I've been kind of mind blown by some of the stuff you guys are bringing out. Really, I am. I'm like, that's why you guys were cooking earlier, and I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything right now because these guys are saying stuff that I wasn't even thinking of.
Right.
My favorite part about it, though, is this story is that complicated, but it's also fun enough that my kids want to ask me, did the new episode come out yet? They ask me, like, we're usually a day or two late, but like they're on board with it. My son is on board with it. My daughter's on board with it. Like, they want to watch this show.
See, and I would say this: it's it's only complicated because we're making it complicated. It's a kid show.
Oh
Like
yeah, but it has that.
kids should love it.
It
But
has those layers that you're talking about, though, that also make it fun for us to watch as well. On top of, you know, seeing ourselves in these kids or whatever, just it being Star Wars flat out is usually enough for us to watch something. But I think they've done a good job of giving it these interesting layers to bring up discussions like this, while it's also just a show that kids can watch and see a Star Wars adventure and not see all those layers to it, you know.
Yeah.
On the line they can, you know, when they get older, which is pretty cool.
when Star Wars is good, think of all of the episodes and everything that you see of Star Wars is good. Kids identify with it because it is Luke Skywalker was in that younger kid. He was that wanderlust.
Mhm.
We saw that. We had that wonder. Anakin Skywalker, young Anakin Skywalker, was a kid. You had Ahsoka and young Anakin, and Ahsoka grew up with that generation, and that is that generation's like Luke Skywalker. But she started off young, teenager. All Star Wars that has been considered to be top Star Wars has that youth. Baby Yoda. People are trying to grow old with Baby Yoda, and they want him to grow up a little bit too fast for my liking. But baby people identify and or like or are drawn to that kid. There is a kid aspect. Ezra Bridger started off as a young kid. Like you can start off with almost every good thing that we like about Star Wars, and it starts off with identifying to either the kid in your heart or identifying with one of those kids that's in that room, right? And it's not just that it's kids, it's that there is a Neil who is the shy kid.
Mhm.
There is the Wanderer who was like the cool kid. It is like the Peppermint Patty who was like the bossy one who was trying to control stuff. There's that nerdy techie kid. There are all kids, and you can see yourself as one of them as a kid.
I agree with you. And I think also, Brent, one of my favorite things you brought up years ago when we talked about when we were doing Rebel shows, this is becoming a found family. And if you look back in history, how many times is found family just key to the story? You can go all the way back to the Wizard of Oz, and you're putting together four diverse people into a common adventure, right? And that's what this is, you know. And so it's fantastic. It's kid version enough, but it's got enough minutia in the background that all people like us who, you know, are down our parents' basements doing a podcast, you know, we're finding these little things to say, ooh, what's next? Ooh, how does this tie? Oh, and it might just be a bunch of nods to all of us with nothing, but it's still out there. So
It's
yeah.
it's kids fun, but it also has underlying communist plots involved in it. So
Exactly.
Right? Goonies never say die.
I'm sorry,
so
you got me with that one. I couldn't hold it in.
Hyperspace Heroes. Yep, Goonies never say die. Now, one thing I'm going to bring up, and I brought it up in our text chat, but I also want to bring it up here and see how you guys talk about it now. I've played enough video games in my life. Jedi Fallen Order, the scene of them in the supervisor's chamber where they were running around and they were reading the different signs. I've played that before. And I was waiting for one of them to say, well, why don't we go see if the coordinates, because invariably in the video game, you'll go to one of those and it'll give you, and all the coordinates will be jacked up except for one. So you'll go to that planet. And then when you land on that planet, you do your little adventure. You get to the supervisor's room. It'll be a different one that's open. And then you do your adventure. And then eventually you'll get to the one that you wanted to get to. And it'll be the last one out of all 9 of the planets. But there was a part of me that was like secretly hoping and or thinking that that's where they were going to go, is they were going to do all of these adventures. And somebody say, well, if we have because I think they have the coordinates to at least 2 of those planets, right? They weren't destroyed. So I was waiting. So all of them but at Athens weren't destroyed. See,
Yep.
I thought a
Right.
couple of them were. So you have all the coordinates. So I was waiting for somebody to say, well, why don't we just go to these coordinates and see if the coordinates to Atten are there?
I like what you're cooking here, Brent, and I'm with you 100% because I felt the same way. Yeah, we're cooking it up here. Except
Right.
they unlocked a special quest at the end of this episode.
What was that, Smee? Or
Right. They now know that Smee holds all the information that they need. They don't necessarily need to go to the other 7 places, except to level up and collect more gear to
Right.
face the final boss.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so
Now,
you should you should at least go to one more.
I think the quest, and it's not to say that they won't, because we left them in that room. They haven't gone anywhere yet.
Right.
But I think the star showed up that was glowing, and you got to do that one first. And that's let's investigate the droid for knowledge. So I would think we would have to go somewhere to unlock whatever's, unless KB can interact with them. But he's a very dangerous droid, so I don't know about hooking her up to this droid directly.
Are we going to go to the owl planet? Are we going to try to
Maybe we
kidnap
go
the
see
owl
Babu
again?
Frick.
Oh.
He's good with droids.
Oh, yeah.
And you know who lives on Babu Frick's planet now?
Mando, right? Not
Yeah.
Mando did he already? Well, we don't know exactly where it is in the timeline because he might not have gotten his house from his video game that we played a few years ago. But who is on that? Because this is what we know also is that those pirates that were in what used to be the school and took it over and turned it into a bar. Those pirates are on that planet.
Yes.
In Navarro.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Damn.
Man, so much good stuff. It's
like
just
a circle.
I think we're cooking right now. I think we're cooking something up. I think it's happening.
This is just a fun show. I'm having a good time.
And the thing is it wouldn't make a real big difference. But how cool would it be in like the next to last episode, or let's even say the last episode? You hear that, Western little jingle. Hey kids, I can get you home.
Can you imagine that, man? I just got chills.
Okay. And I know, Alfie, you said a long time ago when they showed the picture of Neo, Elephant Boy, that if they don't put him on the screen with baby Grogu, that
it just sells itself.
At this point, I think it's criminal.
Exactly.
I think it's criminal if they don't have some sort of link up or passing each other, or at least seeing them on the screen together.
I'm sorry. I don't care what you say about me. You can say make fun of me all you want. But in episode 3, when he was asleep and he started making the elephant sounds in his sleep, oh my gosh, my heart melted.
When he did the elephant sounds when he's blowing his nose. When he was like, "That's really messing with my trunk." He's like,
Yeah,
and you have
when he scooted over next to the girl when they were talking, and he kept scooting closer.
So cute.
Oh my goodness, forget about it.
It's great.
I just want to hug him.
See, now I always hate seeing the magic behind Star Wars while I'm watching it. But did any of you guys see like some of the stuff they've shared on how Neil has been put onto the screen? They've put so much work into that character. You have the kid who does the voice of Neil, who I've seen pictures of him where he's in the full suit, where I don't know if he puts the headpiece on or not when he's doing it. I've seen the microphones that they have. Then there's another actress, I'm pretty sure, who wears the suit, and then they have their own animatronics guy for it. And then they have like a screen that they can see out of the mask with they CGI it out of. I think the characters looked so good on the screen where I'm like, yeah, he might be one of those guys like Grogu level type guys where we're seeing these figures and stuff for him. So good for the young kid who's getting to play him.
Right.
I
don't think we said enough about the kids themselves. They are absolutely killing it in this show. This should be an example at like, I don't know, what is it, like USC, the big film school or whatever, where they have to watch this show and say, look, this is how you deal with children in a film. Because this is just, It is a total homage back to the '80s movies, and where children can lead a feature film
it
without it seeming very. I don't know. Lately, it just hasn't been very good. I'll
You
leave it
know,
at
it,
that.
it reminds me not the '80s ones, but it reminds me of how well the acting's going and how emotional it gets. Is The Sixth Sense? What was his name?
Haley
Osment.
Joe Osment. Yeah.
Yeah, I like he stole that show, right? These kids are doing that. Fern, I will say this: tough as nails. You know,
Peppermint Patty.
yeah, but then she had that breakdown moment, and you thought that's how a kid should do a breakdown moment, right? Like she
Yes.
was welling up and getting emotional, and to see then there's Wim, who is a dreamer, who's trying to be supportive and trying to support her and give her confidence, and I'm seeing that and I'm going, that was all really well done, and even it's a Hannah who's with the Stroikes. Is that Troikes or
Oh,
whatever?
the one that was flirting with
Yeah,
Elf. Yeah.
I thought she did a fantastic job as that warrior leader, future, leader of her group. I thought she was fantastic, and I think somebody I heard said she's from like Kansas or Missouri or whatever. And she pulled off. It was giving me vibes of the Ryloth episodes where they were doing a little French accent, right, in Clone Wars. She was doing a little bit of that twinge to her voice there, but I thought all the kids did a great job in this. Neil obviously was great. I'm hoping we do get that KB episode here still in the next 4 episodes.
I don't know
Is there
why,
any?
but I really had an Enfys Nest vibe from her
Oh,
before she took her helmet off.
yes.
Is there anything from the trailers that we haven't seen that I haven't gone piece by piece through the trailers? Is there anything that's in the trailer that we can kind of try to speculate if you can remember?
I know there was a Neil trailer or commercial that came out today that showed a few new scenes, but they were very quick and not much you
Gotcha.
could get from them. But they were definitely stuff we haven't seen before. One, he's standing on top of what looks like a very mechanical opening, and he has a rope tied to his waist.
I like the sound of that. Sounds fun.
Hey,
We haven't seen the crab creature yet from the trailer.
I don't remember that one.
I don't remember the
Giant
crab
like
creature
crab
either.
that's standing on like a hill.
Oh yeah, and we haven't seen that big
yeah.
skeleton skull that they found as well in the
Right.
in the
Indiana
trailer.
Jones kind of looking thing.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
scene of Jod walking down the hallway and it has the Sith writing on it. We haven't
Yep.
seen that yet either.
Real quick, I know we were talking about what things are reminding us of when they got off on at Akron and they walked into that house and it looked just like their houses, except it looked really jacked up. I thought we were looking at, are we in the upside down like Stranger Things? Or B, did they do time slippage like Interstellar for Nick Shesky? And there's balloons on my screen.
There's the balloons. Happy
Or
birthday.
B, what were they gone for a while, but they came back 200 years later?
Like
Those are the two.
Planet of the Apes.
Correct. Those are the two things that popped in my head when I was like, "Oh crap, they're back!" And it's the one of these two things. I'm glad it wasn't, but that's the first two things that popped into my head.
I went to time split. Mine was times an alternate timeline. I didn't think about the Stranger Things, but I was like, did they go ahead and did they go back in time on this planet? So I went to time slippage.
Do you think symmetrically, because they're in that tower and you have the center point and then you have all of the planets around the outside, do you think all of these planets, all of the planets are all in rotation together, like in one big circle? I don't know. As you guys are talking, it's making me think these were experiments that, remnants of the Empire were doing to be how can we do this so we can control people still, but they don't revolt against us? And it's okay, we screwed up this planet. We screwed up this one. We screwed up this one. This is the one where it worked. This is the system where we figured out how to keep people in check.
That's interesting because the father had a jacket on that had, I think, 7 circles with a circle in the middle. It's not the right number, but it was very similar to that scroll that
Kim.
Kim pulled out.
Oh, and another thing too,
Interesting.
which we haven't talked about the episode with we haven't had a show since the episode with the owl. And
No, you can talk Kim all you want. I thought that was a great episode. I saw the Jude Law interview about Kim, and he said most of the time, I did love that because he said most of the time when you put an animatronic thing in, you try to give it space and you get away from it to let it kind of breathe. He said, I told him, let me get in closer. Let me make it feel more real. I want to be right by her. I thought that was really cool how he approached it and compared to, different things.
did you notice anything? Because I don't, but I mean, was there any talk of the symbolism when she took the emblem that was on like the first student emblem and they separated those two and put them on the screen?
It has meaning, and like I said, I'm sorry, I wrote this stuff down, but I don't have it with me. It did have a meaning to it, and it's nothing really that makes any sense. It goes along with what she was saying about the great work and some of the stuff that was on that scroll.
I'm more interested in the connection of the Lobot connection between KB and the owl, right? Because the owl had like a little Lobot headpiece. So I'm wondering if there is something there, that if the owl was the owl in some sort of an experiment, or did the owl have to have some sort of like body modification to be able to be the owl that it is?
You mean it was like Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy?
Right. I think the owl was probably voluntarily to enhance what she's doing.
Right.
KB's parents said that she had a life monitor.
Right.
So you would think that hers has some type of medical condition as to why she has her.
I was thinking more like the moped, the mods from the moped from Bubba and Fennec Shan. That's what when I said modification, I was thinking like KB and or the owl. But at the same time, when they left the owl said, "You can contact me anytime," which makes me think, is KB
How?
gonna how? It's got to be the Lobot connection, and then like they can just like, hey, I got Lobot, you Lobot, and that's why I was wondering, can like KB connect with the owl to fix out Shmi if they're doing the Shmi through the Lobot connection?
That's a possibility. I would think it'd be more that she recognized that she can interface with electronics or machinery that way. So she had probably, in my mind, KB is sitting there basically downloading everything that she can possibly do at all times, interfacing with everything. So yeah, I would imagine, in my mind, I'm saying those two have an unknown connection because she recognizes what she has and knows what she's been doing while she's there.
And so, forgive me, you just reminded me of something. You said that KB has a medical, or not medical, has a sense because she can sense mechanics. She can
Right.
That the whatever Lobot, whatever she's got going
Right.
on, allows her to sense. But the first time when they said that the first time she was standing there in episode 1 and said they will see me, she hadn't seen the two guys standing in the hallway, and they didn't have anything that was mechanical on them.
I don't know. Maybe they had it in their pocket or something.
Are you
Maybe they had
following?
an
Are you
iPhone.
following what I'm saying? Because she sits
Right.
there, and everybody else goes into the hall and tries to jump across the hall, but she wouldn't do it. And she said, "They'll see me." And then that's when Crimson Jack does his little hand jive and gets the two guards to go while the guards were like electrocuting the octopus guy. Now, if
Oh
that,
yeah.
Maybe
So-
that probe droid was still there and we couldn't see it.
but she said specifically, "Those two will see me." If I remember, like Like, how did she know that it was 2? Like, that's why I think that there might be some sensitivity or
And
something else going on.
Maybe they
and
have some type of device on them that you didn't see.
There's a potential, sure.
yeah, and I liked when she noticed the probe droid was coming before even Jod did, and
And
then
that's
Fern said, "Oh, maybe KB's force sensitive too."
right.
But also,
And
too, if she has some type of enhancement,
right.
maybe she is constantly running analytics because that's what they do. And she knows that, hey, you 4 have already gotten past it. The chances of me getting past have dwindled down.
I mean, she has done the odds on situations, just like any droids. The odds tell me that, you're not good or whatever she said to Jod that one episode. I forget what it was.
You're
When
not a Jedi.
Yeah,
She
the
said,
odds
"I've run the odds." Yeah.
Which is he? What do you guys think?
No, he's not a Jedi. I don't think he's a Jedi.
No, I don't think so either. But I do
Jedi,
think
the problem with the word Jedi and the word Sith is that they are often used to broadly describe a group of people, whereas they also very distinctly describe a small group of people.
Right.
Is he force sensitive? My bets are yes.
So, and I think only us super fans are going to make that distinction. To the
Right.
general population, which from all data shows that the general population isn't really buying into this show and watching this show. It's
Which is
really just the
crazy.
super fan. It's really just the super fans. But to the general population, Jedi means force powers. To the
Or-
super fan, to
Good
us,
force powers.
yes. To us, Jedi means specifically like Luke and like being within the faith of the Jedi faith and built into that religion. So I agree with what Alfie's saying. I just think the general public will throw that a term around, and
Is
we make the distinction that yeah, I think he's got force powers, but he hasn't really bought into the religion of the Jedi, so I wouldn't be able to call him a Jedi.
is this show getting the Solo treatment after Last Jedi that it's getting the post Acolyte response?
Are the numbers not good? I haven't really seen that. Is that a
Yeah.
thing?
No one's really watching. So if you're looking at numbers and you're looking at all the metrics that they use, it is scoring lower than Acolyte. And there's reports that like Andor, Acolyte, and this all spent in the hundreds of millions of dollars for the streaming. Yes.
Disney Plus also
This one is-
considerably raised their prices
Acolyte
right
spent
before
close
this.
to $300 million.
Okay, sure. This one is in like the $200 million range as well.
Like,
Like this one is a big budget. But this was also done under. This was also greenlit before Bob Iger took back over and changed the.
I think word of mouth will spread on this one and people will watch it. I think this will be a late bloomer and the numbers will start going up because it's a good show. There's nothing I have to complain about this show. 4 episodes in, and we have a lot to talk about 4 episodes in, which is exciting.
It will be interesting to see when it's all said and done, because I agree that it could gain rather than go down. So if it has a stronger second half or in a span of time gets more viewers, I don't know. Andor got more viewers as it went on.
I think
was
there were a
still-
lot of times when I was watching The Acolyte, I would sit there and leave a show, and it was like when I did leave the end of Last Jedi, and I would say, what did I see there, or what plot I saw plot holes? What should have been in that spot, right? Like, how should that have fit better? We all talked about it. We would love to see a Sith-based show, especially if it was done a certain way, right? But there were so many times when I had to leave and question myself, going, felt like there was something missing there. And I'm leaving these episodes, and while there's plenty of stuff I don't know, we just talked about all the minutia and all the things that could happen. I'm not leaving going, that really missed on that episode, or there was something missing in the middle of that show. Am I wrong on that? Are you guys feeling the same way? Or
I'm with you.
I turn this show on. I kind of shut my brain off and have fun with it, and then like think about it afterwards. But there hasn't been a moment where throughout this show where I'm just like, what's going on here? It's all well put together because they have good people running the show. They have people who have experience making good movies running the show.
There's a part of me that feels like this should be a movie, though.
I think I heard Rebel Force Radio say it was supposed to be.
Yeah, and like I think that was how it was originally pitched, but that was again when they were trying to push everything to streaming, is the way that it was talked on Rebel Force Radio. But there's a part of me that feels like this would flow better as a full-on actual movie. You could cut it and do it a little bit different. And if it was, I think at this point, halfway through the movie, I think it would have knocked any box office out. It would have been fine. It would have done well.
Okay.
I think Disney is post-COVID. I think they're learning some modern lessons and things that they thought were changing that technically aren't. And I think things are kind of coming back full circle. And
Well, yeah,
you know, Moana
took
2 becoming a movie rather than a Disney Plus show was smart because it made them millions and millions of dollars. Like it's a no-brainer. The box office is still alive. You just need to put something out there that people know wasn't you just throwing shit at the wall and seeing if it sticks.
Oh, Hyperspace Heroes. So I have two questions that I can finish up with here.
Hey,
And-
he's kicking ass. He's doing good. He's
He is.
doing good.
He's
Doing
killing this role.
yeah, but he's not number one, right?
He's
I
doing
don't
his
think
job.
he's number one.
doing-
right.
He's doing exactly
Correct.
what he's supposed to do. And
Exactly.
our thumbnail for this episode on YouTube is the picture of him when he reunites with them in the 4th episode and frees them, and he's kind of standing there talking to him, and he has his hand on Neil's head, and it's like
He comes in. Sorry, he comes in kind of like Moses, like part in the Red Sea. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That was the image that I had as he walked in from the shadows. He had his hands raised like he was parting the Red Sea.
and how calm was he standing across from a fully armed army?
Yeah, just shoot me.
It was it
Yeah,
is
just-
Jack Sparrow vibe. You know what I mean? It is like Jack
that's
Sparrow
true.
vibes, kind of.
So I you know, we can all tie up with anything that we're you know leaving loose ends, but two things that stuck in my head were, one, will we lose any of these characters by the end of the show? Two, is there anything that could happen in these next 4 episodes that would make this thing take a nosedive? I like that. With silence meaning we got to think about that.
I'll start. I don't know what could really nosedive this because with 4 episodes, we're halfway through it, and to me, everything has been a lot of fun. It's been really new. I do wish this was a movie now that Brent brings it up. If you could give me an abbreviated 2-hour version of this, I think you have your trilogy outside of your Skywalker saga, you know, with these kids. Technically, you could have done that trilogy probably, but I don't know. I have a lot of faith in this show. I think the people who are running it are doing a damn good job. I think visually it looks awesome. I have no complaints, and I don't think I will through the next 4 episodes. I think it's going to get even better as we go along here because I think the show has been building up and getting better each episode. It's fun.
Okay. Alfie or Brent?
I think if one of them turns out to be Force sensitive,
Mhm.
that would nosedive it for me.
Okay.
One of the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really, would it really hurt the show too much if one of them discovers that? Not really, but I just don't think it's necessary.
I agree.
I know that would be his greatest dream come true if he was Force sensitive. But I think that should just be reserved for Jod. I think he will have a very strong Force moment. because he has some tricks, right? He has some parlor tricks. He knows how to still do a few things, but he didn't use the Force against the droid. He shut him off.
True.
He took a
Yeah.
running jump, and
Right.
he didn't try to use any. Well, I don't know. We didn't see his interaction with the mercenaries, so maybe he did use some Force magic on him. But
You
I
know,
don't think he's that powerful.
you say that. We didn't see his interaction when his former pirate friend was going to turn him in. We didn't see the interaction with him and the Warriors, right?
Wouldn't he have
So
known that the vault was empty, though, if he was really that strong with the Force?
Magnets, mirrors,
I mean,
strings.
but this is where you and I, Alfie, I think, get into the argument about the Force sensitivity and the powers of the Force, because, and I would say some fandom as well. Just because you have the powers doesn't mean you're going to use them at all times. There are
And
times when
I
you
get
don't
that.
think about using it and you just
Yeah.
react, right? Like
He would use them sparingly to make his crew think he was better than he actually was, but you don't think he would set himself up for that much defeat.
I'm saying for Shmi, right? The whole thing of shutting off Shmi. He was in the moment reacting. He wasn't in the moment thinking about, I need to use my Force powers to turn him off. He was in the moment, saw an opportunity, and jumped to shut it off.
I'm with you. I would completely agree with that.
Because I feel like everything that we know about Jedi powers is you have to have a focused attention, and there has to be a degree of focus on using your powers to be able to use the powers. He was just reacting, and there was no like, oh, I gotta like. If he
Right.
would have reacted and said, "Oh, I'm going to use my Force powers to turn him off," or do something, Neil would have gotten sliced in half.
Which is
Right.
another cool
I'm
thing.
with you on that moment, but I'm saying if he was really that strong in the Force, I don't think he would have put all that effort into taking over that ship with an empty vault. He would have known that it was empty, either
True.
by reading the people on the ship's minds, things like that.
Well, people on the ship might not have known because they had no idea what was in the vault.
He said
They
it was
just told
empty,
yeah, he did.
which he could have been lying. Very possible. It's all
What?
possible.
Or there
People
was more
lie?
value in there or there was more than meets the eye in that situation. Maybe that one.
I think
piece
there's
was-
another pirate crew and he was ripped off. That's why they left the one credit.
Maybe
to
there was
let him
more to
know.
that. Maybe there was more to that one credit or something. I don't know. Maybe,
Like,
maybe
haha,
it was-
Crimson Jack, I got you again.
It needs to be noted, though, that they've done a hell of a job at making SM-33 being this guy who's like fun-loving droid to also being scary at the same time. Like you had your hallway scene with him walking out with the red
Mhm.
lights behind him, and then like he's fun-loving on the ship. He makes you laugh, but then when he
Kept
shows up
calling
and
Jod a
fights,
baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
yeah,
Come
but
on,
then when he-
baby.
Transformed into the killer robot. Yeah, he was terrifying.
yeah. He fights all those guys on that planet. He's badass. He's a warrior. Then he goes back to just hunching around. And then again, last episode, it's like, you think he's going to kill one of the kids. It's crazy. KB will get in there this next episode. I think
Oh,
that's a good
gosh.
idea for what's coming up next.
Will we see Brutus and the pirates chase him down in the next 4 episodes?
Yes. That I'm sorry. I did leave that one scene out. I think from the trailer where Jod says that there's pirates after them. Or maybe did he already say that?
I don't know that he's.
He said
Oh.
that there was I think in the trailer he said something about a horde of
Yeah, he did.
killer pirates coming after them. I can't remember if he said that already or not.
I
But
don't
yes,
remember
I
if he
think
did
we'll
that.
definitely see them again.
Good. We need to see that.
Neil will blast them with that cannon on their school. He'll be a hero, and that one green alien will really like him that he has a crush on.
Yeah, the girl he has a crush on.
This is 2 sets of cannons though, that haven't gone off, right? The one set of the cannon when the Pirate Cove, and now the cannon here in the school. Just saying, there's a lot of cannons.
Right, because they're pirates.
Aye.
Arrgh.
We might have to do an afternoon episode one of these days where it's a bonus episode where I have little David on to talk
Oh.
about this show.
Yeah.
Would
'Cause
love that.
he's enjoying it, and it would be fun if we did, like, maybe
Cool.
one random time during
Well,
Christmas break.
school's out. Yeah, I was gonna say school's out this
Yeah.
week, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Azalea is
D-Doc.
dying to watch the show because she doesn't stay up late enough, and she hasn't been able to watch it with me. So that's like
D-Doc,
we're
you
watching
should
it on Christmas break.
do a father-son show. You should sit down with him. That way we're not, I mean, I'd love to
Well, he when I asked him at one point, I was like, "Would you want to talk about this at all?" And he's like, "Would I get to talk to your friends on the podcast?" So
Okay.
at least a couple of you guys would have to be on for it.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
But I think it would be fun to get his perspective on it. You know, I've been watching like Alfie's saying, it's late when it comes out. So I've been 2 or 3 days delayed with watching with them. So that like it's been like which is why I've been watching every episode twice for this show, which I'm enjoying it even more the second time. You couldn't pay me to watch The Acolyte twice. Sorry. I shouldn't. I have no negativity. We're being positive.
You need to go
Being
back and watch
positive.
that, and I'm sure you'll find better things in it. So
It's terrible.
But I think it would
second
be.
time.
I think it would
Even
be fun.
worse.
I think it would be
It's
fun to
not
get
that
his.
bad.
It's
It would be fun to get
horrible.
his perspective. That would be a fun little episode.
not
We'll
that
see. We'll see
It
how it
is
goes.
that bad. I don't have a problem saying it's that bad.
I'm just saying, and from my perspective, it's not that bad.
And I'm saying from my perspective, it is
Oh
horrible.
yeah. Oh, I know.
all right. We got to
People who worked on
Sorry,
that
sorry.
should feel ashamed.
I mean, all you got to do is say the A word, and
I know.
it's kind of like it's kind of like we call it the Pete Rose effect, right? So if you're on Sports Talk Radio, you say Pete
The
Rose,
next 4 hours, just say Pete Rose.
and
Jacob.
so it used to be The Last Jedi. Now it's Acolyte.
Oh man.
Even Ryan Johnson watched The Acolyte and was like, "God damn."
I would have loved to have seen that reaction if that was true.
We probably need to get T-Bob on to talk about The Acolyte. I think that would be a fun show right there. All right. Well, we've got our time in. We've covered pretty much everything. I'll go around the room. I'll let you guys hit any last topic you want to hit before we break away, because it's Christmas break. Let's give our family some time. Let's not unless next week's show just blows us out of the water and we cannot not talk about it. Then we zoom two of them together the following week or something. But
It's
go
Christmas
around the
Eve,
room.
isn't it? Sorry, I'll start off, but it's Christmas Eve. I just realized that it drops on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah, but I watched the Christmas Carol on the Christmas Eve. I don't know if I'm anyways. No, like Tom Line, just because I had trouble when it started, there was a lot going on and I was watching it at night and it fell asleep. So, and it was dark, and anything that's dark, but I also watch a lot of Star Wars to fall asleep. I do enjoy the show. I think it's good. I think it's entertaining to me. I still think that there's like
Oh,
5
dear Lord.
names. What's that?
I said in the chat, if we ever agree on something, watch out.
We agree on things, my friend.
I know. It's all just in fun.
Right. But no, so I'm excited. I want to see. Here's the thing: is the supervisor a droid? Is the supervisor Shmi's captain? Is the supervisor a pirate? We never know. Okay, is it connected all the way back to the Sith Wars? Who knows? All of this stuff is speculation, and I want to see where it rolls out.
Me too.
As always, like it's fun to talk about and think about and suppose, but I'm not going to put my value and my heart into it and think that I know how to write a script, and I think I know where the script is going, because I think there are some fans out there that think that they know better than and not let it happen. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy the ride.
Me too. Alfie, how about you?
I can't say it enough. I really like this show. I think it's great. I hope it catches on. I would like to see a second season. You know, they say that they have an idea of that they've already planned for the children to age. But like anything else on Disney Plus, you know, we're super nerds. I make no apologies for that. Outside of us, the only Star Wars that I've ever really been asked about, being the Star Wars guy at work, is Mando. So I just don't think Disney Plus is as popular as what people had hoped it would be.
Correct.
I just think that's the truth of it. It held on for a little bit, and it's just really gone downhill. The Marvel stuff didn't stick, and I don't think the Star Wars stuff has either. I wish it would, because I love Star Wars, and I want to see more good Star Wars. I
Could
think
they go ahead?
it's just run its course, and the viewership isn't there, and then you couple that up with one of the worst programs in television history, and it's hard to overcome that. You know, uh, maybe if it was Mando season 4, the excitement would be back. But I read a lot about. Some people say the advertisement is there, the marketing. Other people say that they've never heard of this show before. They had no idea it was on. The Lord of the Rings movie came out this week. Total failure, and that's what I've saw trailers, I saw commercials, and you get on the forums and people are saying, "When did this come out?" I've never seen a single thing about it.
Yep.
So marketing is a hard thing to judge. But
Because
I really like this.
we're not consuming the same way that we used to consume, and
No.
or they are targeting ads and stuff to people that do consume it. So the people that do consume it see it. I saw 75 commercials for Rohim, but I didn't see anything for the Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, but it's to me it's totally similar, which I'm not knocking anyone who's a fan of this because I've watched plenty of it and I am a fan of it as well, but Star Wars Visions, it's a thing. There's people out there who really like it. There's people out there who it really resonates with them. But there's Lord of the Rings fans, and then there's fans who are going to go and pay movie to go to the theaters to see an anime Lord of the Rings movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers are two very different things. I saw the movie theater I was at, that freaking Egyptian movie theater. They had a huge poster for that Lord of the Rings anime movie. I'm like, this looks cool, but I'm not going to go see it in theaters. And I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So like, it's just there's a disconnect sometimes where I think that, and I've heard people say it, Hollywood moves so fast. It's like, if you really think about it, the simple things that you guys have done to put people in the seats still works. When those movies come out that make the billions of dollars, it's just it's classic movie making. People want to see a spectacle. And when people finally make those movies it puts asses in the seats. So I'll continue off of my rant, finishing up here, so we're not going too long and starting a new topic. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to anyone listening to us. Enjoy it. I'm excited about this show. I'm really enjoying coming on here to talk about it each week. It's different when you're coming on to Rule the Galaxy and you're fired up to talk about the show that you're watching, and I hope people watch it. I'm surprised that the viewership is low. I haven't really thought about that. I figured it was just like doing great, honestly. Those were just my thoughts. I haven't really been totally connected on the Twitter interwebs. So hopefully it catches that steam. I had someone text me and say, "Hey, is this worth watching?" So, I guess people are on the fence about it, as Alfie was saying. I wish Disney Plus was more successful, but
you guys have hit on some great points. I love the tie up you guys are all doing. I will say this, going back to marketing and distribution and big names, Marvel had a movie come out just the other day called Kraven, and it made $11 million over the
That was
weekend.
Sony.
I thought it was a Marvel movie. It's an MCU movie, is it not?
No, that's a.
Well, it is Marvel. It is like part of Sony's Marvel cloak.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, Sony. It's like Spider-Man then, right? Sony Marvel movie, but it made $11 million, and it had some big name actors in it, and it made $11 million.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Come on,
Russell Crowe was in that piece of crap.
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, there we go. Not MCU. Okay, so it was
Hey,
a Marvel Sony movie. There we go.
Similar to like the Venom movies or Madam Web,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
like those guys just don't know what the hell they're doing.
But I went to the movies a number of
Morpheus,
times, and I saw the preview a number of times, and I've seen commercials for it, and it made $11 million. So, yeah, if you make stuff good, people will go. And I don't know. As Alfie and you guys have said, maybe Disney's run its course with Disney Plus. We'll see. But let's go on to something bigger and brighter. Merry Christmas, to everybody. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah. Thank you for listening. It's been a great 2024. If we throw in one more episode before 2025, we'll let you know. But if not, we'll come back strong after the holidays and get things rocking and rolling again. We all like the way this show's going. It's a lot of fun. And it's a lot of fun having these four guys get together and just make each other laugh and talk a little Star Wars and real life topics. So
or Michael Penis.
Or Mike.
how you beat me to it? I was waiting for him to stop talking.
Or Rax.
All right. Merry Christmas again. Episode 301 in the books. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you in 2025 unless you throw in an extra one. Until then, may the force be with you.